Part 129. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1281. Chapter 1281. Let's break up too. His tone was so loud that he was not afraid of her knowing that he was just playing tricks on her emotionally, this emotional liar. Jian-Yuman finally managed to get rid of the redness and swelling in her eyes, and tears began to flow wildly. Kenny, who was accompanying her as she cried, felt heartbroken and couldn't stop crying no matter how much she was coaxed. "Little funny boy, if you continue to ask for leave, I will take you to find something happy and take you on a trip to relax." As he said, Kenny immediately called his subordinates, and a private jet stood in front of them, ready to set sail and take them to play around the world at any time. Jian-Yuman was crying while being taken to play anywhere in the world by Kenny. This runaway lasted only half a month. Tangyuj finally returned to Paris after finishing his work. The first thing he did when he returned to Paris was to find Jian-Yuman. But the answer he got was that she didn't come back at all. He was so frightened that he immediately sent someone to investigate. When he learned that she had traveled around the world with Kenny, he was so angry that he didn't even bother to investigate. This woman actually went to play with his lover to see if he would catch her back. Tangyuj then flew to find Jian-Yuman. At this moment, he had no idea that their relationship was in a huge crisis, nor did he take Jian-Yuman's text message about breaking up into his heart. In a small town in Rome, the scenery here is very beautiful and the architectural style is also very different. During this period, Jian-Yuman was forcibly dragged around by Kenny. Looking at the beautiful scenery, she was not in the mood to appreciate it at all. Always have a sullen face, dull eyes, and a depressed mood. Kenny thinks about this interesting thing every day to make Jian-Yuman happy, and her attention will be diverted. After this trip, her mood has been much better. But every time she thought of their relationship, she cried sadly, but it was much better than the time in S City. "Little funny boy, look what I bought." Kenny came back from running outside with Jian-Yuman's favorite local delicacies in his hand. Jian-Yuman's resentful eyes widened instantly when she saw the food in Kenny's hand. As a foodie, there is nothing that cannot be solved by eating. "Garlic toast, ah!" Jian-Yuman screamed and ran past Leah. She grabbed the garlic toast from Kenny's hand and ate it like crazy. When she ate, she wanted to lick her fingers clean. "Eat slowly, I bought several like magic." Kenny conjured up a bag of garlic toast. Jian-Yuman's eyes were shining. She was much better now than before the trip, and Kenny was also very satisfied. I believe that it only takes a while for her to return to normal. Although the hurt in her heart won't heal for a while, at least she no longer needs to worry about her being upset. "Appa, you're the best." Jian-Yuman hugged Kenny's arm and coquettishly. "Look at you, your mouth is full of crumbs." Kenny smiled fondly, and gently wiped the crumbs from the corners of his mouth with his handkerchief. "Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll have some later. I'm going to eat 3 for lunch today." Jian-Yuman gulped down the dates in a good mood, as if she had been hungry for several days. Kenny thoughtfully handed over a bottle of drink, fearing that she would choke. The interaction between the two people, who come and go, looks very loving to outsiders, especially if they are handsome men and beautiful women. The picture is even more beautiful. Not far away from them, there was a pair of burning eyes, glaring at the men and women who were behaving intimately, and their eyes were about to burst out with the look of a missile shooting Kenny to death. "Thank you all for the rewards, it seems you are all masochists." "Ah ha ha ha. Moi. Mr. Tang, your Majesty, you are still happy, but I am very jealous now. Do you want to be beaten by me? It would be terrible if I got angry. Xiao Manman, I'm heartbroken, I'm so sad, I just want to eat some bread." End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1282. Chapter 1282 Let's Break Up 3. Not far away from them, there was a pair of burning eyes, glaring at the men and women who were behaving intimately, and their eyes were about to burst out with the look of a missile shooting Kenny to death. You don't need to think too much to know how angry Tanyuj is at this moment. His woman has been missing for so long, and she finally found someone, but she actually kissed me with other men in a foreign country. I was boldly bold, and I had to teach her a boudoir at night. Tanyuj rushed over crazily, got in between the two of them, and struck Kenny's hand on Jian Yuman's shoulder with one hand. It's irritating and should be chopped off. Jian Yuman was eating happily when Tanyuj suddenly appeared. Without any mental preparation, she did not hold the bread in her hand firmly, so it flew out and fell to the ground, which happened to be the piece with sewage. Ah! Jian Yuman went crazy at that moment. She turned her head angrily and glared at the murderer who destroyed her bread. When she saw clearly that it was Tanyuj, the anger in her heart became even stronger. She raised her leg and kicked him on the lifeline without hesitation. The place where I want to kick him most now, in the past, and in the future is somewhere on Guanxi's lower body, and tearing his mouth apart. Go to hell. Jian Yuman used his hands and feet to attack Tanyuj. Tanyuj, who seemed very angry at first, grabbed Jian Yuman's hand and glared at Jian Yuman with his fiery eyes, successfully frightening the equally angry Jian Yuman for a second. Then he thought of how the Tanyuj had deceived and harmed him, and his terrifying aura became even stronger. You still dare to be mean to me, why are you staring? Believe it or not, I dug out your eyes. Jian Yuman tried hard to pull her hand away, and after failure, she bit his hand several times. You crazy woman, stop! Tanyuj shouted angrily. Whatever, now she just wants to vent her anger. Tanyuj yelled, glared at Kenny, and withdrew his hand. Are you a dog? It hurt him to death. Little funny boy, let go of Tanyuj. He's going to bleed from the bite. Kenny tried to mediate in the middle, and his attitude toward Tanyuj was naturally even worse than before. Jian Yuman reluctantly let go. In fact, she wanted to continue biting. Throwing away Tanyuj's hand, Jian Yuman deliberately held Kenny's hand intimately. Appa, let's go. Where to go? Tanyuj roared like a lion, took Jian Yuman's hand, and looked at Kenny with angry eyes. What do you want to do? Where are you taking my woman? Do you think I am dead? Actually kissing me in front of him, what is his status as his current boyfriend and future husband? What about your woman? Let's break up, okay? Jian Yuman sneered and gave Tanyuj a look of contempt and disgust. Then she turned to Kenny with a smile and said in a pretentious manner. Appa, I want to eat delicious food, please take me there to eat, okay? Tanyuj was stunned for a second by Jian Yuman's look of contempt and disgust. That look was definitely not fake, and why did she look at him like this? Jian, what's the breakup? Didn't you also agree to break up? We no longer have any relationship, please don't pester me. Tanyuj's mind instantly recalled the text message he received from Jian Yuman on April Fool's Day. Wasn't that a joke? Jian, that was a misunderstanding. I thought it was a prank text message you sent on April Fool's Day. Have you noticed that His Majesty has not been updated at 12 o'clock recently? Because Your Majesty wants to be a good baby who goes to bed early and gets up early, he needs to refresh his sleep schedule early. Moi. Continue. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1283. Chapter 1283 Let's Break Up 4. Jian, that was a misunderstanding. I thought it was a prank text message you sent on April Fool's Day. Tanyuj was anxious. What kind of breakup? They finally got back together, how could they break up? April Fool's Day? Tricky. Am I that kind of person? Jian Yuman rolled his eyes, the curve of the corner of his mouth was so dazzling, which also made Tanyuj realize that something happened that he didn't know about. Jian, is there any misunderstanding between us? If there is a misunderstanding, please explain it clearly. Misunderstanding? Explain clearly. Sorry, there is no misunderstanding, and there is no need to explain clearly. Now you just need to disappear completely in front of me, and you don't appear in front of me again, which is the best choice. Have a good time together. Don't make her hate him even more. Stop being so angry. Have I offended you in some way? Can't you tell me and I will change it? Anyway, he can be unprincipled in the face of love and is absolutely a good man in the new century. Suddenly these words stopped in Jian Yuman's ears, just a burst of cynicism, and she felt even more disgusted in her heart. Playing with temper, do you think I am a willful person? Kenny next to him nodded lightly without Jian Yuman noticing. He also agrees with this point of being willful. Then why did you break up with me? This must be asked clearly. Even if he is sentenced to death, he must die to understand. Ha ha ha, Jian Yuman couldn't help but laugh so hard that her facial expression almost stiffened. You ask me why? There is a saying in this world, don't let others know, and don't do anything except yourself. Let me ask you, do you have a daughter Ruru? Ruru? Do you know Ruru? Tanyuj was slightly surprised, and she was still angry because of this. Jian, have you misunderstood what the relationship between me and Ruru is? I just asked you if you are my daughter. Yes, it's just. That's it? We have nothing to talk about. You can get out of my life. Before Tanyuj could finish speaking, Jian Yuman was no longer calm and even more angry after hearing Tanyuj admit that he had a daughter. Exuberant. Regardless of whether he admits it or not, her pain will not go away, and now she just wants to vent her anger. Why don't you get out? We have to make it clear that although Ruru is my daughter, she is my goddaughter. Does this have any hindrance to our relationship? Ha 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 ha. Tanyuj, are you still lying to me and hiding from me? You didn't tell me about your daughter, and now you still claim that she is your goddaughter. Can you draft a lie? I already know everything. Jian Yuman's anger was rising all the time. In the face of Tanyuj's explanation, it was simply a cover-up in her ears. She already knew everything, and he was still trying to hide their relationship by using his daughter-in-law trick. What did I lie to you? Ruru is just my goddaughter. I didn't tell you because I didn't think it was important. If this is a concealment, I'll admit it, but it's really just my goddaughter, even though we look a bit alike. But you can't falsely accuse me, Tanyuj explained anxiously. It is true that because they look so similar, they are often regarded as biological father and daughter when they go out, but this cannot be the reason for their breakup. That's enough. I don't want to continue to listen to your nonsense. You are still unwilling to admit it? Do you think I am so easy to lie? She said, not wanting to continue arguing with him about meaningless topics. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1284. Chapter 1284. Let's break up 5. I don't think so. Everything must be based on evidence. You can't think that I lied to you or concealed something from you just because Ruru and I look alike. What a huge injustice. Tanyuj felt very bored at the moment and explained anxiously, enduring her cynicism. Tanyuj's anxious explanation made Jian Yuman unable to understand. He already had Murong 11, so why did he come to find him again? Do all men like to ride in 2 different boats? Could it be that all men in the world have bad roots, even him? Tanyuj, you loved Murong 11 back then, and I tolerated it. You divorced me for Murong 11, and I tolerated it, but I couldn't bear that you and she both had a daughter. What do you think of me? The relationship between you two, mistress? Do I need it? Tanyuj, you lied to me so badly, can you let me go? Qian Yuman's series of questions made Tanyuj stunned for a moment, and he realized something in an instant. There seemed to be some huge misunderstanding between them, and that misunderstanding was deeply rooted in her heart. Do you think I had an affair with 11? And I had Ruru with her? This is an injustice. What a huge injustice. 11 and I have always been friends. When did I ever fall in love with her? The person I love in my heart has always been it's you, Tanyuj explained anxiously, but when he saw Qian Yuman's disbelieving expression, he seemed to understand something. Could this misunderstanding be the reason why she had to leave him in the first place? She misunderstood that it was Murong 11 that he loved deeply, not because he didn't realize the fact that he fell in love with her. Qian'er, please listen to my explanation. I found that there is a big misunderstanding between us. Can we sit down and have a good chat? Talk, there's nothing to talk about. You go and hug your Murong 11 and Ruru. The relationship between us is completely over from now on. You walk your sunny way, I walk my single plank bridge, and Yi man has nothing to do with you, Tanyuj. Qian Yuman quickly ran towards the temporary house in Rome. Tanyuj immediately gave chase, but was blocked by Kenny. Tanyuj, as a man, you must take responsibility, admit your mistakes, and don't eat from the bowl and look at what's in the pot. You have done enough harm to the little funny guy. You know nothing, don't stand in my way. Tanyuj waved Kenny's hand away impatiently. He was now anxious to explain clearly to Qian Yuman. Kenny put his whole body in front of him and looked at her with hostility. I love her and don't allow anyone to hurt her. You'd better go. You are meddling too much. This is our husband and wife's business. There is no need for you, an outsider, to meddle in our own business. Tanyuj was annoyed. He waved his hand and beat up the bad guy blocking his way. The more he looked at it, the more uncomfortable he became. He was just one of Qian's suitors, but he actually interfered in their affairs, thinking he was nothing. When Kenny returned to the room, he saw Qian Yuman holding a rag doll in a daze. He didn't even notice that he walked in front of her. Tanyuj is still outside. He can stay if he likes. I won't go out anyway. I have decided to cut off the relationship with him this time. Qian Yuman said it very freely, but her little heart was not obedient at all. It kept crying. Has been sad, even the owner of her body is also sad, it takes a lot of willpower not to let herself shed tears. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1285. Chapter 1285. Let's break up 6. He can stay if he likes. I won't go out anyway. I have decided to cut off the relationship with him this time. Qian Yuman said it very freely, but her little heart was not obedient at all. It kept crying. Has been sad, even the owner of her body is also sad, it takes a lot of willpower not to let herself shed tears. Appa, what's wrong with your face? Qian Yuman finally noticed the injury on Kenny's face and there was some dust on his clothes, but she thought there must be injuries somewhere that she couldn't see. Qian Yuman tentatively touched the wound on his face. It's okay, I just had a fight with Tanyuj. Kenny grabbed her hand and smiled softly, not caring about the minor injury at all. Fight? That still dares to fight with you? Is your skin itchy? It's extremely disgusting. Qian Yuman was so angry that his teeth itched, and he waved his hands as a sign that he would teach him a lesson. No way, he kept trying to come in. In order to prevent him from following in, I had a fight with him. He is still outside now. Do you want to say something to him? Appa, Qian Yuman muttered dissatisfiedly. It's been so long, do you still want to speak for him? I'm not talking for him. I know you still can't let him go in your heart. Why don't you have a good talk? As long as he has broken up with Murong 11 and once had a daughter, You can try to accept it magnanimously. It's not easy to be in a relationship. It's even more difficult for two people to be happy. Can't do it, Jian Yuman shook his head violently. I admit that I am a very selfish person. I can't tolerate the sand in my eyes, let alone accept that he once had another woman, and even had a daughter. She couldn't accept it? During this period, she actually tried hard to accept the fact that Tanyuj had a daughter, but she found that she couldn't do it. The thought of him having a daughter made my heart ache. She should stop forcing herself, she is just a coward. Appa, I don't want to hear you speak for him anymore. And can you be a little selfish? Now that I'm broken in love and sad, shouldn't a normal man take advantage of this moment? Why do you still keep me there? He pushed in his arms. Why don't you want to? I can't wait to take his place in your heart, but I also know you. I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to let go of him. You love him so much. If I take advantage of it now, I will definitely not succeed. Kenny laughed. He smiled, with a hint of sadness in his smile. However, Jian Yuman was deeply moved by his words, and she could not hold back Tanyuj's tears. Appa, you deliberately made me cry. Let me tell you, I am not crying because of that Tanyuj. I am moved by your words. You are responsible for eliminating my tears and snot. As he spoke, Jian Yuman pulled his sleeve and wiped it. Looking at Jian Yuman, who was very close at hand, Kenny opened his hands and tried to hug her into his arms, but he paused in the air and did not implement it. At midnight, there was lightning and thunder, and a thunderstorm began, which made Jian Yuman in the room feel trance-like. Did even God find her sad and shed tears on her behalf? She didn't know how long it would take to forget this pain. Even if she helped the poor, it would be very difficult to forget. At this moment, Kenny opened the door and walked in. Little funny boy, although you may not want to hear it, I still have to tell you that Tanyuj is still standing outside. Sugar baby, bitter drama, bitter drama, bitter drama. It will definitely work. Of His Majesty, the Invincible Thunderbolt Supreme Commander of the Universe, good night, everyone. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1286. Chapter 1286. I'm going to marry Kenny 1. Little funny boy, although you may not want to hear it, I still have to tell you that Tanyuj is still standing outside. Kenny's tone was serious, but in fact, he definitely didn't want to tell Jian Yuman. Stand outside, let him stand. Jian Yuman's eyes were red and swollen, her little cherry mouth was pouting, and she was in a gloomy mood. She was unmoved by Tanyuj still standing outside. The next second, there was a loud bang and a thunderous explosion. The sound was as loud as an explosion in the ears, which also startled Jian Yuman. This thunder basically reminded Jian Yuman that it was raining heavily outside, and Tanyuj would get wet even if he held an umbrella outside. Are you really sure you don't want to go out and take a look? Kenny understood Jian Yuman's thoughts very well. Although she was sad now, she was not a hard-hearted person, and she still had Tanyuj in her heart. Just be kind and kindly remind her of the situation outside. What are you looking at? He can stay there if he likes. It's none of my business, Jian Yuman said angrily, lifting up the quilt and getting in. Appa, I'm tired, good night. Little funny boy, don't run away. Are you going to go out and try to persuade me? Forget it, I'll get wet. I thought I would give in with this trick. It's funny, cheating is cheating, there is no explanation, she will never give in. You, Kenny shook his head helplessly, closed the door and left. After Kenny left, Jian Yuman sat up from the bed and looked at the window. The sound of rain hitting the windows continued to penetrate her ears. It seems like the rain is getting heavier. Oops. Don't think about it, don't think about it. Jian-Yuman hugged the pillow and screamed in frustration. After Kenny left Jian-Yuman's room, he thought about it a lot, and finally chose to take a raincoat and walk out, and came to Tang Yuj, who was standing in the rain, motionless for a moment. This man is really stubborn. Tang Yuj, you'd better leave, the little kid won't come out to see you. The rain has already soaked Tang Yuj. His bangs were too long and his clothes were already wet. The weather in Rome in April was still a bit cold, but Tang Yuj still stood stubbornly and motionless. Tang Yuj glanced at Kenny and remained silent. Why are you two making such a fuss? You won't come out if you continue to stand like this. You will get gonorrhea if you continue to stand. You don't need to worry about it. Tang Yuj turned his head angrily, like a child making trouble, but the target was not Jian-Yuman, but Kenny. Of course, Kenny didn't agree with him. The rain was getting heavier and the clothes on his body were getting wet. He didn't continue to persuade Tang Yuj and stuffed the raincoat in his hand into his arms. You can stand as long as you like, I don't care about you. Kenny turned and left. As he left, he glanced at Tang Yuj, who was unwilling to pick up his raincoat even if it fell on the ground. Why? Another sigh escaped from his mouth. He didn't know how many times he sighed today. And a certain cruel woman was crawling by the window, peeking at Kenny, Tang Yuj, and the others. He couldn't hear clearly what they were talking about, but he could guess what they said. Seeing Tang Yuj stubbornly refusing to take the raincoat made Jian-Yuman feel sad. His eyes turned red again, and he clenched his hands tightly, digging his nails into his flesh, trying to resist the urge to go out and call people in at all costs. Jian-Yuman, don't be fooled by his cruel trick. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1287. Chapter 1287 I'm going to marry Kenny too. Jian-Yuman, don't be fooled by his cruel trick. He just knows that you are easy to be soft-hearted, so he acted like this. He wants to move you, so don't let him fool you. Jian-Yuman kept persuading herself, but when she saw Tang Yuj standing outside, she obviously couldn't bear it and shook her body. Is he unable to hold on? Even an ironclad body can't withstand his torture. But, thinking about the hateful things he had done, the more I thought about it, the angrier I became, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought I had to let it go, since Secretary Zhang was nearby anyway. Jian-Yuman turned around and hid herself under the quilt, choosing to ignore the outside world and trying her best to forget that Tang Yuj was outside. Come on, fall asleep quickly so she wouldn't be disturbed. However, God sincerely refuses to allow some people to sleep. There are thunders outside, and there are many in succession, and even lightning comes out. Damn it! I'm not letting anyone sleep anymore. Jian-Yuman sat up angrily and glared outside. It's so annoying, it's so annoying, ah! She's going crazy. Jian-Yuman looked outside, gritted his teeth and got up from the bed, took something from the cabinet, and ran out. Opening the door, she saw Tang Yuj still standing outside, his face already a little pale. At the same time, he saw Secretary Zhang who had been persuading Tang Yuj. The moment Secretary Zhang saw Jian-Yuman, a delighted smile appeared on his face, and then he turned and left, leaving them some time. Jian-Yuman walked toward Tang Yuj step by step with a sullen face. What are you doing? Are you standing at my door pretending to be sympathetic? You haven't left yet. Tang Yuj sighed slowly, brushed his bangs away from his eyes, and showed a faint smile. Jian-Er, you finally came out. I knew you couldn't let me go. Stop being so sentimental. Do you think I'll soften up if you stand like this? It's so funny. I don't want to be on the headlines tomorrow, and I don't want someone to die in front of this beautiful house. But you just came out. The smile on Tanyuj's face became even brighter. Do you want to stand or not? Qian Yuman turned around and left angrily, but Tanyuj immediately grabbed her, lest he escape. Qian don't leave, listen to my explanation. Can you just give me some time to explain? Explanation? Do you think there is anything else that needs to be explained between us? The facts were in front of her, and she wouldn't believe anything he said. There is a big misunderstanding between us. Can you give me a few minutes? And even if I beg you, Tanyuj placed his status very low and his tone was filled with humble pleading. He is always so humble in front of love, but it doesn't matter, as long as she forgives him, he doesn't mind his status first. Okay. Tell me, let me see what flowers you can name. Qian Yuman crossed her hands on her chest and looked at Tanyuj calmly. First of all, I want to explain to you clearly that Ruru is not my and Eleven's daughter. My relationship with Eleven has always been just friends. It is impossible to have a child with her. The person I love in my heart is you. Since 3 years ago the person I love to this day is you, and that has never changed. I misunderstood the text message you sent a few days ago as a prank text on April Fool's Day, so I joked with you. If I knew that you were serious about breaking up with me, I would definitely not. So say it. Have you finished speaking? I heard these words of yours during the day. Do you think I will believe it? You are simply playing with my feelings. The person you love in your heart must always be Murong 11. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1288. Chapter 1288. I'm going to marry Kenny 3. Qian Yuman watched Tanyuj lie over and over again with an indifferent expression, and her heart became cold again and again. Have you finished speaking? I heard these words of yours during the day. Do you think I will believe it? You are simply playing with my feelings. The person you love in your heart must have always been Murong 11. After I left you, if we were together with her, we wouldn't have a child as big as Ruru. Now you're messing with me? Are you still in the middle of your marriage with her, or are you just playing with me? Why don't you believe me? I told you that the person I love has always been you. Do you think I will believe it? When I divorced you, didn't you readily agree? When did I readily agree? If you didn't force me, I would agree. Tanyuj was a little annoyed when faced with Qian Yuman's unreasonable troubles. She didn't ask Qi Lili to pretend to be her and jump into the river to threaten him that he would sign the divorce agreement. Tanyuj, you lied and didn't write a draft. Did I force you? Did I force you? Qian Yuman thought they could not continue their conversation. Until now, he is still full of lies, saying that Ruru is his goddaughter, a goddaughter. It's you who forced me to do it. Humph, Qian Yuman sneered. I find I can't talk to you anymore, so I'll ask you again if Ruru is your daughter. No, Tanyuj replied resolutely. Ha ha ha, Qian Yuman looked up to the sky and laughed, her eyes stung from the laughter, and even she didn't know whether the water on her face was tears or rain. That's enough for you, you can leave now. I have broken up with you, please don't pester me again. Qian why don't you believe what I said? Tanyuj grabbed her shoulders excitedly, his voice became hoarse, but he was still roaring hard. I don't want you to leave me, I don't want to break up with you, we finally got back together, why are you so cruel? Tanyuj's words made Qian Yuman's heart shake. She thought of the past and cruelly threw away his hand. Tanyuj, that's enough. The first reason I came out was to persuade you to leave. The second reason I came here was to tell you that I am getting married to Kenny. I will not invite you to the wedding. Please give up. Qian Yuman raised her right hand, and on her right ring finger was a diamond ring, which was the original engagement ring between Kenny and Qian Yuman. Marriage, 5 thunderous words exploded in an instant. These simple words were louder than the thunder in the sky. The excited Tanyuj gradually calmed down and looked deeply at the ring on her fingertips. His eyes were completely attracted and could no longer be moved away. Jian Yuman also noticed his shocked expression, gritted his teeth and continued. Tang Yuj, it is impossible for you and me to be together anymore. No matter how much you have deceived me in the past, you must explain it completely from today on. I choose to be with Kenny, so just give up. Are you kidding me? Tang Yuj tried his best to smile, but the smile was stiff and there was only sadness in his eyes. Kenny has always been a good match. He never makes me sad. He will always guard me silently. He always simply wants me to be happy. To have such a good man love me, I am not blind. You can see it. Jian Yuman was moved and sad when she said these words. These were words spoken from the heart, facts she had always known. The previous chapter was copied incorrectly when it was updated. Please delete the cache and read it again. Ha ha ha. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1289. Chapter 1289. I'm going to marry Kenny for. The words Jian Yuman said were all from the bottom of her heart, and they were facts she had always known. It was just that Tang Yuj was the only one in her heart at that time, so she couldn't choose Kenny. She would rather be bruised by love than choose Kenny. Tang Yuj's eyes were bloodshot, and his lips were slightly purple from standing in the rain for a long time. Are you serious? Certainly. Ha ha ha. This time, it was Tang Yuj's turn to laugh towards the sky, but there was only sadness and pain in the laughter, with a hint of ridicule. Th. Tang Yuj laughed for a long time, smiling, and tears mixed with rain kept flowing down. The look in Jian Yuman's eyes was full of disappointment and pain. Jian Yuman, after so many years, do you only have this little trust in me? You treat my reasons as excuses and my explanations as lies. Who do you think I am, Tang Yuj? I only took this step because I love you. After so many years, you know very well what I think of you. I admit that I didn't fall in love with you at the beginning and it was my fault for hurting you, but I also paid the price for it. It's also because of the belated love. You know how much I suffered and how much I paid for it? In this love, I love with humility and no self-respect. I racked my brains to get back together with you, but now what I get is that you are angry and want to marry someone else, just like you tried so hard to get a divorce. Who do you think I am, Tang Yuj? Who am I, Tang Yuj? The founder of the dignified Dihao group. There are many women who like me, love me, and want to marry me. Why do you think I can stick to you again and again without self-respect? You always leave when you say leave, let go when you say let go, you simply don't love me enough. You have never trusted me in this marriage or relationship from the beginning to the end. There is indeed no need to continue a love without trust. Break up, right? Okay. I will make it happen for you. Tang Yuj said this sentence in a hoarse voice. He was obviously speechless, but he still tried hard to finish. At this moment, his heart was bleeding continuously, and he was already powerless to face the love that was about to end completely. Especially when the woman in front of him heard what he said, her face became indifferent, and her heart became even colder. He thought his words would get a slight response from her. He thought she would give in, but he didn't expect her face to be indifferent and her eyes to be mocking. Suddenly I felt so ridiculous, laughing at why I was so stupid. Are you done? I'll go back after I'm done. You, whatever. Jian Yuman turned back to the house indifferently. The moment she turned around, Jian Yuman could no longer control herself and bit her lower lip and cried softly, her heart aching constantly. She will not be shaken by those painful words. There was even a moment where he wondered if there was a real misunderstanding and the person he loved was actually him, Or he was just lying because he was afraid that she would know the truth. But lies are lies after all. She has given him a chance to be honest, but he is still full of lies. It's over, this time it's really over. Tanyuj, who had been standing in the rain, looked at Jian Yuman's leaving figure. Before closing his eyes and falling into darkness, all he could see was Jian Yuman's ruthless back. At that moment, he really gave up. At the same time, it brings an end to their relationship that has never been solid. Jian'er, I wish you happiness. We are destined to be together after all. Kenny, yes, I finally have a chance to become the royal palace. Your Majesty, yes, Manman, you have finally given up on the sugar baby. I recommend my good friend Zheshue's light-hearted and funny article Funny Concubine, Prince, please take off your clothes quickly. Introduction. Just after crossing time, she the prince just escaped the brutal prince's pursuit, only to find out that she is actually the soon-to-be princess that everyone hates. Damn. What a useless princess. You ruined my youth and prevented me from flirting with men. I will quit. Throwing down the divorce letter, a certain woman was furious. Her legs were shaking and she was about to rub oil on her solace when she was taken back to the bed, and then a stern figure came over her. You still have the energy to write a letter of divorce? It seems that I have given you too little training. Hurry and check it out, collect it, and slowly fatten it up. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1290. Chapter 1290 I'm going to marry Kenny 5. Jian Yuman returned to the room and broke down crying. The thunderstorm outside was so crazy that even though she was wearing a raincoat, she still got wet. The rain dripped down her hair and fell to the ground, accompanied by her tears falling down, and her tears burst again. Even though she said it so freely, why couldn't she stop crying? She was obviously reluctant to let go, but she just couldn't get over those knots in her heart. The pain continued to torture Jian Yuman, and she didn't even dare to see if Tanyuj was still outside, waiting for her in the rain. Kenny came over in home clothes, gently held Jian Yuman in his arms, and patted her back. Don't be sad. Wow, Jian Yuman cried like a child, and her tears were freely given to Kenny for free, on Kenny's clothes. Tanyuj fainted just now. Jian Yuman's body was shaken, and she immediately pushed Kenny away, turned around and ran to see Tanyuj's condition. He has been taken away by his secretary. It should be okay, Kenny added. Jian Yuman's footsteps paused, and she put her feet back on the ground. She looked at the lines on the floor in despair, and responded lightly. Oh. Kenny's eyes noticed the ring on Jian Yuman's finger, and then he grabbed her hand with excitement. Little, Manman, promise to me. That was the ring he gave her. He still remembered it, but he didn't expect her to actually wear it. Does that mean she accepted his feelings? Jian Yuman's tears stopped instantly and she quickly retracted her hand. She was just deliberately angry with Tanyuj, but she didn't expect Kenny to misunderstand her. Manman, I'm so happy that you finally accept me. Kenny happily held Jian Yuman in his arms. Appa, listen to me, it's not what you think. Jian Yuman tried hard to break free from Kenny's restraints, but the excited Kenny hugged her too hard and finally gave up. Manman, my little tease, thank you. I know you still have Tanyuj in your heart. It will take time for you to forget him, but I am willing to wait for the moment you fall in love with me. Kenny was very happy at the moment, immersed in the joy. Jian Yuman did not notice any strange behavior. Jian Yuman's eyes flashed, and a terrible thought appeared in her mind, but she actually didn't hate this idea. Appa, even if I never fall in love with you, even if Tanyuj exists in my heart for the rest of my life, will you still marry me? Yes, if what I do can make you happy, even if you don't get married, as long as you need someone to accompany you, I will not marry for the rest of your life, just to always be by your side. Kenny confessed affectionately, these words, these decisions, has long been deeply rooted in her heart. How virtuous and capable I am that you should be so kind to me. In this world, love never needs a reason. Just because I identify you, that is you. Even if it is a one-sided effort forever, I am willing. Watch you and love you. Kenny's gentle confession and Tanyu's repeated lies and concealments stimulated Jian-yuman. The same man, a man she loves, a man who loves her, why does he treat her with such a big attitude? Perhaps, this misunderstanding will become a beautiful misunderstanding between them. End of this chapter.